Okay. Welcome to the Structural Concept Report for January 2024. 3, 6, 7, 8. Okay, about 20 people in the audience. Thank you everybody for coming. And we start with Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody will stand. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item on the agenda is the standard public comment on agenda items. If there is anybody who currently has an issue or wants to speak on items on the agenda coming up, please state your name and what your issue with the agenda is. Is there anybody? Going once, twice, okay. Then we get to announcements.
Yep, no.
Okay, our next piece of business is number 3 on the consent agenda. Board of Supervisors meeting minutes from the last meeting, actually December 2023 meeting. Does anybody have any comments or revisions to the minutes from December 20th, 2023?
No, you can just do the whole consent agenda if you want.
I'm just going through. We have the reorganization meeting minutes. No comments. Wind plan review. We have the emergency services report. As usual, I want to thank Sellersville Fire Department and Telford Fire Department and Trumbarsville and Tylersport Fire Department. We have building and zoning building permit report, which is available. Public Works report, Park and Rec Committee report, here, Conservation Committee, fire contracts, and treasurer's report and payment of bills. I'd entertain a motion.
Hold on.
Nope.
Greg has to read the
Sorry.
report.
I have to get the actual figures.
The treasurer's report for December 31st, 2023. The general fund, $728,967.18. Highway aid, $35,972.38. Space, $1,107,630.40. The park fund, $50,588.16. Equipment fund, $14,135.10. Highway capital, $137.90. The street light, $36,611.47. The general fund reserve, $481,396.67. The American Rescue Plan funds, $526,383.17. Open Space Manderfield, $71,542.60. Sewage Maintenance Fund, $205,121.28. The Stormwater Fund, $12,521.31, and the escrow funds, $2,473,277.49.
Mr. Woodcock. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. We go through confirmed appointments. We had a request, but right now we have none. And we get to committee reports. We have the Planning Commission, Mr. Durstein.
All right, so Planning Commission met last Tuesday. First order of business was our reorganization. We voted to keep the same configuration as the previous year, so I will remain as the chairman. Alex Armour will remain as the vice chairman, and Tim Ruth will be the treasurer. Our first applicant was Select Properties. They had a lot line adjustment that will basically swap some property from from 2 adjoining lots. It's in the area of their Forest Road development that they had proposed a few months ago. Basically just swapping about 2¼ acres from one property to another and then one to the other. It's all, I think it's all to ease the development that they're proposing. Some type of configuration that makes it a little simpler for them to do the development that they want to do up there on Forest. That's basically it for that. Was pretty simple, but you have any
Chris,
questions?
excuse me, Chris, is that land development 651?
I don't have that written down.
Okay. I see that. It says Forest Road. I'm just,
Yeah, that's the one. If it says Forest Road, that's the one.
all right, thank you.
Any other questions?
That's Forest Road over to Lawn Avenue and then.
No, this is Forest up to
Forest-
Tower.
Okay, they're separate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they're
Yeah. So on the north side of Tower, up toward or north side of Forest up to Tower.
Tower. Okay.
Okay. So our second applicant was again Select Properties. They had a sketch plan for development of 6.05 acres made up of 2 properties on Augustine down here. It's in the VR district. They were proposing to develop 9 single-family dwelling lots using 1 existing home. So sewer and water proposed to be served by Perksy Regional Authority. As you know, that's the Telford area. So there's a lot of things to work through. They have approached the entities. I don't know how far they've gotten with it, but we've basically asked them to not come back in front of us until they get that straightened out. That's been kind of a theme with this development area up here. So we'd like to see them get things straightened out and not keep coming back in with revised sketch plans for us until they have some definitive answers on the sewer and water. It's going to require amendment to the 537.
Can I ask you a question, Chris?
Absolutely.
Regarding you're talking about sewer and water there, and you just recently spoke about the development north of Forest Road.
Mhm.
Tower. There's no water and sewer that's proposed for up there at all.
Correct. Yeah.
Why would they be proposing a development?
I'm not them. I can't answer that.
Okay,
I know that the lot line changes were on properties that are served by on-lot sewer and water,
okay.
but I think they are going to need public sewer and water to develop that whole property, but that's not here tonight.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. That's basically it in a nutshell for that development. Any questions on that?
I have
All right.
No questions?
So our third applicant,
Didn't make the meeting, but watched it on YouTube.
Okay, good.
One view.
one view. Yeah. How we look?
Yeah, pretty good.
Good, thanks. So our third applicant was once again Select Properties. This would be their Holiday House Road sketch plan. They were in a few months ago with a sketch plan to build some homes in there. They completely changed this. It's a total of 8.2 acres. It's comprised of 3 lots. They're proposing to develop a 30-unit age-qualified development configured on a P-loop using townhouse dwellings. The site is about, basically 1 lot deep on Holiday House Road from Washington Avenue on the north side of Holiday House. Water's proposed to be served by water from North Penn, sewer by Sellersville, and they want to do this via an easement through the Holiday House pool property, which is basically directly across the street from this proposed development. They said that well, Hal, you would know, were they in for your joint rec? Was it December meeting or?
Yep, they were, but I guess, sitting on the side is the new joint rec chairman, Mr. Don Crowther, and I guess they can address
Right.
that because that's actually part of Don's presentation of the minutes from the last meeting. So
Okay.
rather than me speaking, I'll let the current chairman give the minutes from the last joint rec meeting.
Okay. Well, we don't need to do that right now.
But later on,
They claim that they're going to be back in February. So did you make any headway with them? Okay. Thank you.
So you know, you have to go to the mic to be heard.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sound to pick up.
Just use us whispering.
All right. All right, where that was the, Right. so they are also requesting, an easement through that same, sewer and water easement to use as an emergency access, to get to the pool parking lot. The reason for this is since they're developing on Holiday House Road is a dead end. So if something gets blocked off before Washington Avenue, then it's a giant cul-de-sac. So we're requesting an emergency access that didn't drop back onto Holiday House Road. So that's the reason for that.
Can I ask you a question there, Chris?
Yes, you can.
Is there a new easement being negotiated?
I guess there was an easement there. Does that make sense?
That
They
ran-
want to reopen, to run the sewer and water and this emergency drive?
That's my question to you.
That's my question to Hal.
Okay.
There was, and it had, my understanding is that the person who is not here, which is Sellersville Borough Authority, wanted it done within 18 months because they didn't want to hold up EDUs at that time.
Right.
And so there was a hard 18 cutoff, and we're now a couple years out. So as again, that's under discussion.
Okay.
Is my
All right. Thank
best
you.
way of putting it without
Nope,
stealing.
you're running the meeting here. Yep, thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so they came, it was a P-loop design, which didn't make a whole lot of sense. They needed a second access point with the P-loop. They were proposing a 20-foot wide pervious, grass paver, access, which didn't meet code. So we suggested that they just do a U. You know, the P loop looked like a U when they had their emergency access hooked to it. So I want to just make it a U with a in and out, and you have the regulations covered with that. So they were going to take all this stuff into consideration and come back at some point. So that is it in a nutshell. There's a lot of little odds and ends that need to be ironed out, but that's the overall picture.
One question, which is, I'm picturing Holiday House Road, and if you talk about a P loop versus a U, where I can see one leg of the U coming in, where would the other leg of the U come out?
Probably about 30 feet from where the other one went in.
Oh, all right. So
So they were creating a U, basically with their P loop, they were creating U, putting a parking area in the center with the dwellings wrapping the P.
Okay.
So if they made it a U, it looked like the P with an extended leg, which made more sense because they had to have this emergency lane. The emergency lane they proposed didn't meet code, so make it a U and it'll meet the code.
okay. I did watch the video from the planning commission meeting, but I did not have the chance. I forgot to pull up the rest of the meeting packet so that I had plans on the side. So I was just watching it.
Right.
Without looking at the sketch. So I'm not sure
Yeah.
how the U came out. Too late. Okay.
It certainly helps to have it in front of you, even though they're very small print. You can see the layout. So that's all I have. Will not have any other questions,
I have none. Thanks.
and that's all I have. So I'm done.
Any further questions?
I'll make a motion to accept Chris's report as presented.
Second that motion.
Call the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, our next section, we go up to committee reports for independent committees.
Commission.
Sorry, commission. Committee, division,
Commissioner,
commission. Wow.
number 6.
Number 6. Now,
Yep. Number 6, commissioner.
Well, this is in recognition of you becoming chairman. Wear a suit
New
today.
dress code this evening?
Oh,
Swell.
I had a meeting. I had to wear a suit for today. Good evening.
good evening.
All right. I have the December 2023 activity report for the Penn Ridge Regional Police Department. The police department responded to 760 calls for service in the month of December. Of those calls, 304 of them were in East Rock Hill Township, 444 were in West Rock Hill Township, with 8 calls being in neighboring agencies. The department handled 16 traffic crashes. Of those crashes, 11 were reportable, 5 were non-reportable, with 3 in East Rock Hill, and the remaining 13 were in West Rock Hill. Officers responded to 4 Part 1 crimes and 20 Part 2 crimes, totaling 24 crimes in the month of December. Those reported crimes included, excuse me, an assault in East Rock Hill Township, criminal mischief, domestic assault or incident in East Rock Hill Township, a drug charge, fraud, 6 complaints of harassment, 2 sexual offenses, 1 theft, and 1 trespassing complaint in East Rock Hill Township. Crimes for West Rock Hill Township: we had a hit and run crash, 2 DUIs, 1 assault, 1 domestic, and 2 harassments. We filed 19 charges in the month of December, 2 charges of theft by deception, 2 charges of theft by extortion, 2 charges of receiving stolen property, 2 hit and runs, 3 simple assaults, 2 harassment charges, 3 disorderly conducts, 2 DUIs charges, and 1 possession of drugs and 1 possession of drug paraphernalia. Police department handled 206 traffic enforcement details, issued 16 citations and 40 traffic warnings, and conducted 19 school checks, 118 park checks, and 120 hours of training were attended by the police officers. So that leaves us year to date. These are the end of the year numbers. The police department handled 8,833 calls for service, handled 274 traffic crashes, responded and reported 436 offenses, 382 criminal charges were filed, and attended or participated in 2,390 hours of training for the year of 2023. So that would sum up your December report of the Penn Ridge Regional Police Department.
I have none.
Just a comment, Chief. For the 2023 totals, criminal charges, like double from 22.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Big jump.
And if you look at it, the offenses that are reported are down.
Mhm.
So I attribute that to a little bit more aggressive police work by the officers. They're building more charges in their investigations. Is the way that I would credit how I would compensate for that.
Good police work.
So they're doing a good job. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
I'll make a motion. We accept the chief's report.
I'll second that motion.
All motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a good night, chief.
Our next commission, sorry, instead of committee, is Joint Rec Authority. Get the podium and state your name and position.
Thank you. My name is Don Krauthamel. I represent the Joint Rec Authority. Our last meeting was held on Wednesday, January 3rd of this year. The first order of business was the nomination and election of new officers for the coming year. I, Don Krauthamel, was nominated and elected as board chairperson. Hal Shermer was elected as vice chair. Antonia Buck was elected as secretary, and Lynn Saylor was elected as treasurer. All 4 officers were approved as authorized check signers. The agenda items discussed during this meeting included the following. The final results of the fiscal 2023 year were reviewed. The records show a deficit for the year in the amount of $12,659.86. This amount reflects and can be completely attributed to the following: last-minute loss of Future Stars Day Camp revenue in the amount of $25,000, unusually cool, breezy, and overcast weather through June and part of July, which greatly reduced our daily admissions revenue. It should be noted that all bills were paid by Sellersville Borough. They have, at this point, absorbed that deficit. A motion was made and seconded and passed that we request of West Rock Hill Township that they help split the cost of that deficit with Sellersville Borough. There was a brief discussion concerning the request made last month by Mr. Brian Grant of Select Properties, who is requesting an easement through the Holiday House property to allow connection of a planned age-restricted community to the Penridge Wastewater and Sewer Authority. This is obviously what Mr. Durstein was talking about. We listened to Mr. Grant's proposal. We told him that we would give it some consideration and asked him to return to complete that discussion in February. As you heard discussed, there had been a previous easement agreement, but that agreement was passed back in, I believe it was 2018, 2016, 2018, I believe. And there was a time limit included in that agreement, which all parties agreed to. That time limit, I forget off the top of my head what the time limits were, but basically it required work to be started and completed within a specified period of time. And that time has since elapsed. So I'm not in a position to speak for the authority tonight. We will give the request further consideration in view of the fact that the nature of those connections have greatly changed. Initially in 2018, it was to connect 2 homes. Now it's to connect a number of homes, up to 30 homes. I can't say that we are greatly interested in simply reopening the existing easement. We would probably wish to renegotiate that, but that will be further decided after we meet with him again. The remainder of the meeting was dedicated to a discussion of those issues that need to be addressed as we prepare for the 2024 swim season this summer. Those issues included the following: an update on the status of a pavilion promised last year by the Rotary. I have reached out to Mr. Paul Lorenz asking for a status on that project, and I'm waiting to hear back from him. Fundraising was a major issue of discussion. A committee was created comprised of Tony Buck, Shelley Miklos, and Roseanne Davis, the last 2 being volunteers who have been working with us for the past several months now and have been a real much needed infusion of energy and manpower. Our funding raising efforts began with a raffle conducted at Sellersville's Winterfest. The winner of that raffle was selected and will receive a family of 4 membership for holiday this coming season. Plans for a fundraising campaign to solicit support from area businesses and corporations was discussed. Those plans are just about completed, and we hope to initiate a mass mailing with a personal follow-up with contacts of large businesses to try to solicit additional corporate funding for the Holiday House. This is a plan that has been discussed in the past with members of the supervisors. It's recognized that while in the past, much of the funding was from the 2 municipalities, in light of today's environment, that needs to change. And we are attempting to do just that. JRA volunteers, in fact, Shelley and Roseanne have already begun making stops with local businesses and have already received several donations. Plans are also in the works to schedule a number of dine and donate nights at area eateries. So we are working on the whole issue of fundraising, which is a major concern. Another issue, membership. Our drive to attract new members was also discussed, although we saw a significant increase in the number of memberships last year. It was recognized that many residents in the Penridge area, even some within our residential footprint of West Rock Hill and Sellersville, don't even know that Holiday House exists. It's a well-kept secret, and we need to change that. So we discussed the following plans to address that, which include dropping off laminated flyers at all of the area municipalities, including West Rock Hill, Sellersville, East Rock Hill, Hilltown Township, Bedminster, Silverdale, Telford. At the same time, we have completed, or we've written up several newsletter articles that we hope they will run in their municipalities' newsletter, also to make people aware of Holiday House. We discussed the plans to send out additional postcards to new residents in the community. We still have some left from last year's mailing, and we could easily get more made up. The only thing that we need at this point is a list of the new residents, and I believe Mr. Shermer is working on that. Also discussed was the need to reach out to the area day camps that have utilized Holiday House in the past, as well as possibly new organizations that may not know of us. Finally, emails will be sent out to all of our past members from last year, urging them to purchase their 2024 memberships by March 31st in order to take advantage of a 10% discount. A motion was also made and seconded and passed that we advertise Holiday House on placemats at the Roy Ann Diner and also A&N. Those ads are seen by placed on about 65 to 70,000 placemats each quarter at a cost of only about $300, which we felt was well worth it. Capital improvements are always a major topic of discussion. This past meeting was no exception. The following planned capital improvements were discussed. A pump replacement. The quote that we've been anticipating from Don Kelly was discussed. Don Kelly, for those who don't know, is our pool tech who services our filter system, the pumps, and all of the plumbing that are required. It's expected that he is going to recommend replacement of that pump, which is a used and rebuilt pump, with a new pent air pump. It's also expected that he's going to recommend that we change the manifold pump arrangement to allow the pump to become self-priming. This will help reduce the possibility of motor burnout. Other planned improvements include painting the pool, patching of known cracks and resealing of joints, recaulking the perimeter of the pool between the coping blocks and the pool deck itself, installation of a new fan and exhaust system in the pool office to help bring down the temperature in that room to make it bearable. During the summer, we can't run air conditioning in there because the doors are always open. There's a window where people hand their money that's always open, and it gets incredibly hot in there. Fortunately, we've already received a very generous donation, which should essentially pay for that particular project. We also expect there will be a few skimmers that need to be replaced. Staff recruitment and hiring was mentioned. We agreed last year that we would maintain our rates for our lifeguards. We're going to increase our rates for managers to $25 an hour. And it was agreed that we need to reach out to all former staff to try to recruit them for this coming year. Other topics of discussion at this meeting. we have negotiated, or when I say we, the Sellersville Borough staff, particularly Reggie Stevenson, negotiated with PP&L and got us a greatly reduced rate on our electric. That is going to bring our electricity costs probably down by 50%, possibly more. We talked about swim lessons, when they will be conducted, and what other activities we might want to support, such as aerobics or Zumba. There was a long discussion about the need to find someone who is licensed and interested in running the snack stand. As you can see, this was a long meeting. There's a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done between now and the last Sunday in May when we would open. Unfortunately, there are two other additional topics that required a great deal of discussion. The first is the issue of the need to fill at least one, if not both, of the existing vacancies on the Joint Rec Board. The Joint Rec Authority, as the supervisors know, but for your information, I will explain, is consisting of 6 members. 3 are appointed by Sellersville, 3 are appointed by West Rock Hill. 2 members who were appointed by West Rock Hill resigned unexpectedly at the beginning of May, and those positions have still not been filled. After working shorthanded all through the 2023 swim season, we were very fortunate to find an individual who is a resident of West Rock Hill who is eager to become involved as a board member. Supervisors well know that we have been asking West Rock Hill supervisor to appoint Shelley Miklos to fill one of those positions. We've been requesting this since October or November of this past year. It was at our last meeting that the authority learned that the supervisors have decided to hold off on that appointment until the completion of what has been described as a marketing study. I'll get to the issue of the marketing study in a moment, but I must say right now that this decision to unnecessarily impede our ability to get the vast amount of work done that needs to be done is simply unconscionable. Appointing 1 or preferably 2 people to fill the current vacancies costs the township nothing, not a penny. But it does make it possible for us to get everything done that we need to do if we're going to open the pool in May. And it does something else. Filling 1 or both of these positions when we have a ready and willing volunteer signals the supervisor's commitment to the welfare of Holiday House Pool. The lack of that commitment is extremely troubling. With respect to the marketing study that we have heard you intend to conduct, I have several questions. First, why is this study suddenly being done now at a time when we are focusing all of our time and resources on preparing to open the pool? Why was this not done in September? Why did you not come to the JRA and explain the intent and the purpose of this study and ask for our involvement, our input? Why did you not go to Sellersville Borough and ask for their support? I'm sure if you had, in a spirit of partnership, which is what this Joint Rec Authority is supposed to be, a partnership, they would have agreed to. In the video recording of your meeting in December, I heard mention of the hope that Sellersville might agree to split the cost of this study. If they had been approached in the spirit of a partnership, I think they probably would have. But why would they do so now when you didn't even have the courtesy to involve them in discussions regarding it? What is the cost of the study? I realize that if the township is planning to fund the study, it may not seem as though the cost should be a matter of our concern. But you have known for several years now that the Joint Rec Authority has been attempting to fund a feasibility study. A feasibility study would look at the long-term prognosis for Holiday House. It would look at the entire facility, its advantages, its strengths, its weaknesses, its deficits. Would help us to prioritize and create a long-term plan that would make Holiday House self-sufficient, a goal which I have heard over and over again from you that you endorse. You were apparently unwilling to step up and help with the funding of the feasibility study. We applied for 2 grants. The feasibility study was in the neighborhood of $16,000. But apparently you were unwilling to fund that at the time. Now, it's my understanding that you're ready to spend a similar amount for a marketing study. And that brings us to my last question. What is the purpose of the study? Is it to help build a better, self-sufficient Holiday House? If so, then I have to ask again, why didn't you come to us in the spirit of a partnership and ask for our involvement in helping to attain that goal? I have to wonder if the more likely answer isn't that the study is to be used to support a decision which has already been made to dissolve the JRA. I'll close by saying it appears to me that West Rock Hill is no longer interested in supporting Holiday House Pool. I say this for several reasons. First, you refuse to fill a vacancy on the board when someone is available and eager to serve, when the cost to the township will be nothing. This is not what you do if you are actively trying to support a pool. After we reduced our request for financial support from $50,000 last year to $15,000 this year, West Rock Hill Township agreed to fund $13,000. I'm sorry to say that I consider this a slap in the face. To make further support contingent on a marketing study, which will not be completed for several months at best, will only make it more difficult, if not impossible, for us to open the pool this summer. This again smacks of an attempt to derail our efforts to operate Holiday House Pool. I understand your reluctance to spend the money on the pool, which you feel is not being utilized by your residents. You keep throwing around the number 35 as the number of memberships from West Rock Hill. If you really wanted to know what the number is, why didn't you ask? The fact is that last year, residents of West Rock Hill purchased 63 memberships that gave 98 West Rock Hill residents access to Holiday House Pool. We don't know how many other residents made use of the pool through daily admissions, nor do I at the moment know offhand how many West Rock Hill teens might have found summer employment there. Is a pool an essential service? No, of course not. But neither are parks, and yet you have no problem subsidizing them. How many of your residents visit your parks each year? Do you even know? How much revenue do your parks generate towards their own support? Last year, when we looked to the municipalities for the largest portion of funding that we ever have, Holiday House still funded 57% of its budget. And this year, our goal is to self-fund 87% of our budget through an aggressive fundraising campaign that you, Mr. Kaiser, agreed upon. Is a video conference system essential? No, but you spent somewhere in the neighborhood of $40,000 on that. How many residents will use that? But I will be the first to admit that this is not really the point. The real point is, what is important to you? Just a few months ago, I listened as one of you asserted, "We will not let Holiday House fail," quote unquote. But your actions and your inaction do not back that up. So if you, as the township supervisors, have decided that Holiday House Pool, with its 55-year history, is not important to you, if you can only look at what is there today and you can't see the diamond in the rough that's sitting there, and if you can't see what could be there once again, then I would ask you to please just be honest enough to say so. If your intent is to dissolve the Joint Rec Authority, if you're not committed to supporting Holiday House Pool, then just be honest about it. And let's start figuring out how we dissolve the authority, if that's your intent, so that Holiday House Pool can move on without you. At our last meeting, we passed a motion to write a resolution urging the township supervisors to fill at least one of the vacancies on the board. I have a blank unsigned version of that, which I will leave with you today. The resolution itself will be voted on and passed, I am sure, at our next meeting. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Discussions go to the board chairman, but so it's unfortunately, the public does not ask questions. The person speaking presents their information, and same thing as council. If the supervisors have questions, then those get passed. I do procedurally, I think that, first there is the motion to accept Don's report from the Joint Rec Authority. Now
I'll make that motion.
Make that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And given the discussion, I would entertain a motion to confirm that the budgeted 13,000 will be available for the Joint Rec Authority to start their outreach essentially immediately. Because we have budgeted that, and apparently they need that to start moving forward. So I would entertain a motion to disperse the 13,000 that we have budgeted.
We budgeted 13,000, but I don't know that we ever agreed on when we would forward that money.
That's why I'm entertaining a motion to disperse the money that was requested and budgeted. Going once, going twice. No second, thank you.
Thank you very much. That pretty much answers all the questions I had.
Okay, next item on the agenda is report from Suzanne Clark. Suzanne is not here.
I have Suzanne's report.
Thank you. And we'll recognize Greg to
Please report that the liens have been filed. The annual $7,196.22. The 2023 interns of $2,222.31, and 2022 interns of $79.18, and one street light tax of $32.37. That is all for the tax collectors.
entertain a motion to approve the tax collector's reports as led by Greg.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Number 8 is the engineer's report. Mr. Gala cannot be here, which is unfortunate, but we have entertained Lala to discuss this.
Wonderful. Good evening, Julie Bunce-Breckelson from the law firm of Eastburn and Gray, here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Profco Pine Goods Telford LLC. See that we do have the site plan up on the screen for you to view. I know that the board is very familiar with this project, having reviewed the plans numerous times on numerous occasions, starting back in August of 2022 when the applicant submitted a sketch plan. So I'm just going to provide a real quick overview of what is being proposed. This is a lot line change, so between 3060 and 3068 Old State Road. Those properties front along State, Meeting House, and Old State Roads. Proposed Lot 1 would be developed with a Wawa convenience store of 6,049 square feet. It would be 4.24 in acres, and it's located at the intersection of State and Meeting House Roads. In addition, there will be 8 multi-product fuel dispensing facilities, a fueling canopy, 73 parking spaces, and associated lighting, landscaping, and stormwater management improvements, as you can see on the plan. There are 2 accesses proposed to the site, a full movement driveway access on Meeting House and a left-in, right-out driveway access proposed on State Road. Proposed Lot 2 will comprise 0.87 acres and is located at the intersection of Meeting House and State. It will be retained by the current owner, as will the improvements that exist on that property, which include a number of residential structures, some of which are located in the right-of-way of Meeting House Road. Significant roadway improvements are proposed with regard to this development, the biggest of which, obviously, as the board is very familiar with, is the signalization proposed for State and Meeting House roads. This board did provide some prior approvals, including allowing for a 24/7 operation of the Wawa at the site, in addition to confirming that 7 oversized parking spaces was a sufficient number for this project. Thereafter, we did receive some dimensional variances from the zoning hearing board in April of 2023, and then we submitted the preliminary final land development plans to the township in July of 2023. These plans were reviewed by the township consultants who issued review letters. We then met with the Planning Commission in August of 2023, and after significant discussion, we determined that it would be best for the applicant to submit revised plans, cleaning up the comments in the township consultant review letters. So we cleaned up the plans and we resubmitted those plans in November of 2023. We received the township engineer's review letter dated December 7th and the township traffic engineer's review letter dated December 5th. Township engineer's review letter is very clean. It contains mostly statements acknowledging plan compliance with various ordinance sections. It notes required outside agency permits and approvals and references administrative items such as development agreements and legal descriptions for right-of-way and such. There's a couple technical plan comments. It's all will comply. There's all will comply in that letter. There's 2 discussion items, 8 and 9, comments 8 and 9 in the review letter, but they relate to waiver requests. So I will address them when we discuss the waiver requests. Otherwise, all will comply. With regard to the township traffic engineer's review letter, I want to note that the traffic impact study, which was dated October 26, 2023, was submitted to the township and to PennDOT and was approved by PennDOT. And the comments in both PennDOT's response letter and the township traffic engineer's review letter are either will comply or will be addressed to the satisfaction of both PennDOT and the township traffic engineer. There's a few comments that require coordination between PennDOT representatives and the township traffic engineer. And to that end, there was a meeting that was held recently, I believe it was January 4th, and the township engineer was present, as was a township manager, I believe. Also PennDOT representatives and then the applicant representatives. So they continue to move forward to coordinate the improvements with regard to the signalization and pedestrian connectivity. So with that, I would jump into the waiver request letter unless there's any questions.
Can I ask one
Sure,
question?
absolutely.
What's the difference between, in the engineering review letter, between a will comply or will be addressed? Well, I don't, what's the distinction between those two concepts?
I believe it was all will comply in the township engineer's review
Right,
letter.
but in
I was
the-
talking about the traffic.
Right, I'm sorry, the
Well,
traffic.
It's with regard to the PennDOT comments and with regard to signalization and the pedestrian connectivity. And so that's what's being coordinated
The
with
will
both
be
of those
addressed might require
entities.
kind of an altered response from what the engineer, the traffic engineer review letter said after PennDOT's input. Is that what?
I think that's a fair characterization. Is that correct? Yes.
Okay.
Directly with compliance.
Or a comment maybe that was made in the township traffic engineer's review letter will be altered by PennDOT. And they'll address it by complying with PennDOT to the satisfaction of the township traffic.
Will comply deals with us and will address deals with the Greek forest and PennDOT and
The coordination. I mean, there's some preferences with regard to the improvements in terms of the pedestrian connectivity. And I think that's all needs to be coordinated with both the township traffic engineer as well as PennDOT, because maybe those preferences differ a little bit. Slightly.
One more.
Sure.
The date of the traffic engineer review letter?
Is December 5th, 2023.
I don't have it.
I don't have it.
You don't have it?
It wasn't in the packet. either. That, she can go on without me having a copy. Or do you guys feel
No.
like you need a copy?
No, go ahead.
No, we can look it up later. It'll come up again, so.
Right. And it's all pretty much will comply, so shouldn't be an issue. If that's sufficient, I'll move on to the waiver requests. Waiver request number 1 is a waiver from 365-38A2. That's to allow driveways on corner lots and reverse frontage lots to gain access from both the street of higher classification and lower classification in lieu of access solely from the street of lower classification. And the reason for this is that the uses, the E8 and E9 uses, that is the retail store and the motor vehicle fuel station, require separate access points. So it's an ordinance requirement, zoning ordinance requirement. So we're requesting a waiver from that saldo section. The next 2 are related, 2 and 3 are related because these deal with installation of curbing as well as sidewalks. And this is one of the discussions we had with the Planning Commission. And when we revised our plans from the July submission, we had thought that the Planning Commission, as you can see up here on the plan, we had thought that the Planning Commission's direction was that they wanted some type of pathway over from the Wawa lot over to Old State Road. So we were trying to develop some kind of path behind Lot 2 that would lead over to Old State and then up to the intersection of Old State and Meeting House. And when we returned to the Planning Commission, they said, no, that's not what we wanted. What we want is we want the sidewalk and curbing along the frontage of the Wawa property. So along State Road and Meeting House Road. And we had some issues along State because there's some grading issues and that type of thing and some complications, but we are able to engineer it so it will work. And so what we are proposing is curbing and sidewalk along the frontage of the proposed Lot 1 on State and Meeting House roads. Otherwise, we're seeking a waiver from providing curbing and sidewalk along the remainder of Meeting House Road, along proposed Lot 2, and along Old State Road. Again, on proposed Lot 2 on the Meeting House, there's some existing structures in the right-of-way, some encroachments. It would make putting sidewalk there very difficult, if not impossible. And then we're not providing any improvements along Old State Road. So that was the Planning Commission's recommendation. So we agreed to change that waiver request so that We're going to provide the curbing and sidewalk along proposed Lot 1 on State and Meeting House, and we're asking for a waiver from providing it on the remainder of Meeting House and Old State. And that's what waivers 2 and 3 address. With regard to waiver number 4, that's from 365-49 F2C. That's to permit maximum width of entrance and exit drives of 30 feet with maximum curb cut dimensions of 115.1 feet and 118.9 feet in lieu of the permitted 54 feet at the curb line. These are PennDOT standards that we need to comply with, and that's the reason for that waiver request. Waiver requests 5 and 6 are the same. They're to permit combined preliminary and final plan reviews and approvals. Waiver number 7 is from section 365-19D to permit a plan showing all existing features located within the tract boundaries and all applicable information immediately adjacent to the tract in lieu of the required information to be shown within 100 feet of the tract boundary. I think this is a pretty standard waiver that everybody requests, and we present an aerial plan, so it does provide some of that information. Waiver request number 8 is a partial waiver from section 352-18.C.2, and that's to permit HDPE storm sewer pipes in lieu of reinforced concrete pipes. I think that's another pretty standard waiver that's routinely requested. The next is a partial waiver from section 352-18C3, and that's to permit pipe sizes smaller than the minimum 18-inch diameter required. There's a few pipes on the site that are less than the 18-inch due to their drainage areas being smaller, so an 18-inch pipe would be oversized for those certain applications. Again, I think this is a pretty standard waiver request. The next is to permit a waiver from 365-43A to permit cuts or fills greater than 4 feet of excavation or backfill for the installation of a retaining wall. That retaining wall is required to limit disturbance and tie into existing grades while maintaining maximum proposed grades of 4:1 slope. The next two are also combined in the sense that they have to do with landscaping requirements and tree reforestation requirements. So the first waiver is requested to permit less than the shaded area within the parking area than what is required due to limited area for planning and site utility conflicts. And we're also providing heat island mitigation methods, such as the high reflectance roof on the building and specifying concrete and material with high reflectance value for the parking spaces close to the building. So that should mitigate some of the heat. The next is the waiver from 365-41.H.1A and 365-41.H.2B, and that's to allow the exception from reforestation. Again, with regard to the limited area on the site, there's a limited planning area. However, as you can see on the plan, there is significant amount of landscaping that's proposed around the perimeter of the property, and there's existing buffering along the rear property line of the Wawa lot, as well as in the open space area that's going to remain open space that has significant landscaping and trees as well. And then finally, a partial waiver is requested from 365-31M and 32.B and 32D, and that's to not provide widening along Meeting House Road beyond the Lot 1 boundary line and to not provide widening along Old State. This was another comment in the Township Engineer's review letter. That's the second comment I was saying that needed discussion. So we're widening to the ordinance standards along the Meeting House portion of the proposed Wawa lot, but we're asking for the waiver for widening the remainder of Meeting House and along the Old State. Again, same reason for not providing sidewalk and curbing. There's existing improvements in the right of way and such.
What's the date of your waiver?
The waiver letter was originally dated November 13th, 2023. It was revised December 11th, 2023.
We're not looking at the December 11th. I'm not anyway.
The Planning Commission had it when we were there.
I have.
Boulder?
Oh, yeah, it
We're on,
does.
we're on page,
But
okay.
mine stop at waiver number 13.
That's all we have.
Okay.
Waiver 13. And the only difference between the two waiver letters was that we added 13, number 13. And that had to do with the road widening. That was the comment in the township engineer's review letter on page 3, comment 9.
Mr. Chairman, I think there's questions about possible fee in lieu ofs on both 2, 3, 13, 12, which is reforestation.
And we are going to address that as we move forward with the township.
What does that mean?
They give us a cost estimate and then Steve and I sit down with the developer and then we give you the number that we agree upon for the resolution.
So the resolution
We'll
will,
capture the fee in lieu of.
so there will be fees in lieu of for reforestation, road widening, and curbs and sidewalks that are not being installed.
Correct, minus whatever offsite improvements that they.
Something.
You mean like worked out with staff?
That's how we've always done it.
Well, reviewed by staff.
That's what I mean.
It's part of
But
the
it has
resol-
to be in my resolution, so I'm just trying to figure out how to
You're,
get it
you're
in
trying to
there.
capture everything.
Right.
I do have a question then, Mr. Chairman.
I'll
When
let-
she's done. I have a concern regarding the waiver for the size and pipe for the drainage in the areas where the drainage is not much. My concern is all the rain that we've had and the flooding we've had over the past couple years. Or how do we know for sure that by reducing the size of those pipes, we're gonna be covered? It says, and I'm referring to your number 9, waiver number 9. It says here the size is no smaller than a minimum of 18 inches and you would like to go smaller because of the areas that are not that great. Well, they're not that great in a normal condition, but under the unusual circumstances we've had in the last 2 years, I'll say, maybe 3 years. I have a concern regarding the proper drainage. And if we put smaller pipes in, will we be able to fix them later if they did not handle or were not sufficient to carry the water?
Would the board like me to confirm that with the township?
Yeah, I know, I was gonna get
before
there.
write
It's
the
just-
resolution?
I would have asked that question to the engineer, however, he's not here.
It's,
Yes.
but can I just specify that it's specifically with regard to the roof drains? That's all it's with regard to.
Okay.
And those are standard, usually 4-inch, 6-inch. So we're providing standard, piping for roof drains that are usually provided. And that's why 18 inches is much over the capacity that's needed.
Are you talking though that you're going to be collecting several 4-inch and 6-inch roof drains into an 18-inch pipe or not?
That would be the engineer to answer.
That's why my concern is if you're collecting multiple drains into a pipe, why would we go less than 18?
Hi, Chris Bazinas with Bull Engineering,
Hi, Chris.
designer on this project. So the roof drains that are combined are only splitting up certain portions of the building, the front and the back. So we're not collecting the entire building into one 6-inch pipe.
Okay.
The same thing with the canopy, which is an A-frame canopy. So there's roof drains that split on each side and then tie into inlets that have 18-inch pipe. So this is standard. And if the roof gutter drain capacity was overloaded, it would then lead to the inlets in the parking lot, which all have 18-inch pipe leading to the underground basins.
Thank you for that explanation. I still would like, Mary, I'd like you to
I will do
confirm
that.
with Steve, please.
Unfortunately, we were short an engineer. Thanks. Unfortunately.
That's okay.
And if I,
That's okay. We'll get the answer.
and that's fine. And if I may, I just want to state that when we were before the planning commission, your engineer was here and we went through all of these waiver requests and he had no issue with any of them.
Okay.
Usually make sure to get the.
That's fine. Understood.
One, not really snarky question, but you guys do realize that there's a big company that makes concrete pipe about 1,000 feet away from you instead of doing HDPE instead of plastic pipes. This seems to come out like there's a big company that makes perfectly good concrete pipes as big as you want right next door.
Understood.
As far as undersizing, I do understand the concern that, okay, we have had a bunch of heavy rainfall and we just had Sawzall making use of their pretty much like old Mercedes-Benz Unimog for water rescues. And that area does have a history of flooding, at least from the north side. So I understand the concerns.
And another question for the board. Preliminary final is okay with you?
I don't have a problem with that. I will pull the other board.
I'm fine with it.
I think it's pretty well vetted by the planning commission and Mr. Jason. Okay, well, so we don't have an engineer to actually approve the report, so I'm not sure if we need a motion to move forward or just accept the testimony.
Or just direct me to prepare the resolution?
I'll make a motion. We direct Mary to prepare the resolution.
Second that.
I'll call the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Yep. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Now we next move to number 9, which is the solicitor's report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's 2 items on my agenda. First, the township has received a zoning hearing board application for 3115 Old State Road. They were in before for a variance. They're looking for 3 variances. One is an interpretation of the previously granted variance. Another one is to make the impervious surface go up to 68.5% instead of 60%, which is allowed. And before they got a variance for 44 feet, and now they're looking for 51. No action is necessary unless the board wants to take action. It is just for informational purposes only.
Thank you for the information.
The second item is a revised public comment policy for public meetings. It is to go on the back of the agenda. It says, in order for public comment to be captured on the recording and transcribed into the meeting minutes once called upon, the individual must approach the podium, speak clearly into the microphone, and identify their first and last name. We're having a problem with the audio. If people speak from their seats, it's not picking it up and it's not reflected in the video. So if you want to be captured, you have to go up to the podium. So.
Well, it works, but you have to actually have a bit of theater presence.
But did you say that social security numbers would be required too?
And no, it is just so that's on the back, so people know they have to go up if they want to be recorded. That is all, and all I would need is,
Page 2, right?
yeah, it's on page 2 on the back. We'll just update it, telling everybody that isn't familiar with the township meetings that if they want to be heard, they have to come up here.
Posterity and be up on. We can hear you, but we want to make sure that everybody who watches the record is able to hear you. So it's not just, it's.
Greg, what do you need from us?
Just a motion to approve it.
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
All the motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
That's all I have.
Do we have any business?
None.
I have none at this time.
Do you have any new business?
None at this time.
I do have one, which is noting that we are down 1 truck while we're waiting. To hope that we can find some other volunteers for plowing, and to note that PennDOT has been using contractors, and we are aware of some of the limitations of PennDOT. As I was going, when I was driving around to check up on snow plowing, I was going to ask the nice lady who delivers my mail as I was going down Ridge Valley Road. Then I further turned the corner and realized she was getting pulled out of the ditch by J&J Towing. So I did not have to ask, how are the roads? Because I picked up from the fact she was being pulled out. Aside from that, I want to thank our guys who are out there plowing snow as early as possible. And that's all. Just thanking you guys who are doing the plowing and thanking the people who are pulling the people out who could not get down some of the steep roads. Then next we have, is there any public comment? Going once?
The folder keeps getting,
An agenda item.
the folder keeps getting thicker and thicker.
No, you never.
There's nothing in it really. Don White. So I'm here to talk about the fire departments again. I'm sure you guys have seen this report. It was done by the state. The first line of this report, I don't have to read this whole thing. First line is one that really applies here. Fire and EMS are in crisis right now. Simply put, EMS is woefully lacking in funding. And the number of volunteers, firefighters, has fallen dramatically over the decades. I think it was in 70, they had 300,000 volunteers in Pennsylvania. They have 38,000 now. It's crazy. They don't have enough money and they can't get volunteers. So West Rock Hill contributes 0.75 mils to 4 fire companies. That gets divided among 4 fire companies. This is a report done by the county. And that number, 0.75, is the lowest number on this list of all the municipalities in Bucks County. Lowest. No one pays less than we're paying. Some pay the same, but no one pays less. So, you know, what started this with me was the house next door to me burned. And when the fire company showed up, one old guy my age and 2 teens jumped out of the truck and put that fire out. They can't man the trucks during the day because they don't have enough volunteers to man the trucks. You know, we kind of are living off the generosity of other communities. Sularsville pays full 3 mils to their fire department. We pay 0.75 and divide it amongst 4 companies. So eventually this is going to end up being paid fire companies. They're going to have to. I would predict that this happens within the next decade, that we're going to go to paid firemen. And then at that point, you know what Sularsville is going to do? They're going to send us a bill. And there won't be any negotiation. We won't be able to talk. They're going to say, this is what you're going to pay. You know that 50% of Sularsville's calls are to West Rock Hill Township? They protect a lot of our infrastructure. That hospital down there, they have the ladder truck that protects that hospital. So really what West Rock Hill is, and we saw it today with the pool too, what West Rock Hill is, we're the family that goes to every potluck dinner and we bring a bag of chips. Thank you.
We have more public comment. And if you'll state your name and instead of address, your
Good evening. I'm Jerry Gretzi and I'm president of Telford Fire Company. And I didn't expect that before me, but I did want to thank you guys for the fire panel discussion and so forth. We went back and in looking through our fundraisers and everything, I've been asked by our company and Tylersport to ask you gentlemen a question. And the question is this: since 2006, I don't know about the other 2 fire companies. I had yet to been able to contact them. Since 2006, Telford and Tylersport have received the same contractual amount. That would indicate that either the millage that's being charged for fire tax has not increased by $1 since 2006, or that maybe the other two fire companies asked for more and got more, or maybe the township is holding money for whatever reason they're doing. So my question is to support what Mr. Wade said. Our fundraising opportunities are very limited because we can't turn out the people. In addition to that, the amount that the volunteers are asked to do is assist EMS, assist the police, motor vehicle accidents, fires. We're doing nothing but going through certification after certification and recertification. And it's very taxing. We spent 3.5 hours on Tuesday night recertifying for CPR. And when you multiply the number of people that spent that 3.5 hours, there's a lot of hours that went into that. So I'm just asking on behalf of us and Tylersport, as I said, I haven't talked to the other two fire companies, just an explanation or for your consideration to remember that. Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, it's fairly obvious that every municipality and every nonprofit and every committee of municipalities are hurting for volunteers. We have vacancies on Joint Rec Authority, we have vacancies on Park and Rec, we have vacancies on zoning board. You guys have, almost every borough and township around here has 3, 4, 5, 10 people, openings for people to volunteer, and we don't get the volunteers. And it's getting harder and harder to find people to step up and take the time to actually come out for the community. We understand, and whatever we can do to help provide information for everybody, we try. And when it comes to funding, we're trying.
Mr. Chairman, you let Greg have the floor for a minute, please.
Of course. Thank you.
I don't know when it was done, but the contract amount is a little bit more than the 3/4 mil. So your contributions $400 more than the 3/4 mil. That's why it's not going up, because way back when it's that way. Sellersville asked that maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and we gave them the number. So that's why you get more than the 3/4 mil.
Quick public comment, going once, going twice. All right, I'll call the meeting. I'll ask for movement to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second it.
I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody watching. Bye.